In any programming languages, you need variables. And what is the purpose of variables? Variables are used to store the values of data. Are used to store data values. And there are different types of data. Your data may be a whole number, like a number without decimal point, like 1, 2, 3, so on. And your data may be a real number, I mean the number with decimal values like 1.44, data like that. And your data may be a boolean, means it may be true or false. Or finally your data may be a character, like single character, like A, G, T, so on. So in programming we process data, and data may have these different types, and to process data we need some containers. Those containers are called variables. And for every type of data we have for different type of data we have different type of containers or variables. Like if you want to keep parrot, you will keep it in a cage, and here cage is a variable for parrot. And if you want to keep water, you will put it in a glass. So here the glass is actually container for the water data. So here glass is a variable and water is a data. So in C++ we have different types of data, different types of containers. Like integer is used. Integer is the data type for whole numbers. Float and double are the data types for real numbers. Real number means a number which have decimal digits, decimal points. And a boolean data type which is used to store a boolean value like true or false. And char, character char data type for storing single character. So let's do some programming using these concepts. So here let's say I want to store a whole number. So for that I need a container or variable. So let's declare that variable. And as I told you, for storing whole number you will need integer data type. So for integer the keyword is int. Let's say x is that variable. So I declared variable x, and next I assign some value to x, or I store some data in this container variable. Let's say I store 10 number, whole number, in this x variable. And now I print the x and followed by end line. So what it will print on the screen? It will print the value that it contains. It contains 10, so it will print 10 on the console screen. So let's print it. Fine, so it is printing 10. So 10 is a data which has been stored in the variable x. So now let's say we want to store some real number. So if I try to store that real number in x, let's see what happens. So now I stored a number, real number 10.101 in the variable x that has type integer. So now let's see what happens when we try to print this x variable on the console screen. Right, so here it is still showing 10. It is not showing the decimal part of this number. So that is the point that I told you earlier, that for each data type you have a specific variable, variable to store a specific data. So for real numbers you need a data type that is a float or double. So now I declare a variable with float data type, and now I store this number into x. Now it will show the decimal part as well. So let's see what happens. Yes, it is showing the decimal part as well. Similarly, if you convert it to double, it will do the same. The only difference between the int and double is that double has more size uh, to contain bigger amount of data, and float has less size. Like double has 8 bytes and size of float is 4 bytes. Right, it's going good. So, and then we also have a data type for storing true or false thing. So for that you have bool, and in bool variable you can store either true or false. Let's say I store true. What I will do, here it is true, but at the backend it will store true as 1, so it will print 1. Okay, it is showing 1. And if I store false here in the x variable, it will print 0, because at the backend it is saving false as 0. Right. And finally, you can also have a data type of character, char, and it can store a single character at a time. So here, if I store A, it will show the A on the console screen. And please note it that for any single character data, you need to enclose this single character in between the single quotes here and single quotes at the end. So now I print on the screen and see what happens. Yes, it shows A. And finally, as I told you earlier, that anything that you store in the computer is actually stored in the form of binary numbers. And similarly for this character, there is some binary representation at the backend, and so for every character there is some number representation, and those number representation are called Ascii codes. So here is the Ascii code chart. You can pause the screen here and just look through this table. And here it is A. He has 65 decimal value, 41 hexa value, and so on. So if instead of storing this character in x variable, if I store the 65 number, so 65 is a whole number, but it has been stored in a character data type, so the compiler will automatically or implicitly convert this 65 into character. And you know the character representation for 65 is A, so it will still show A on the console screen. So here you see A again. So that was a brief introduction to data types. So if you feel any confusion, you can put it in the comment box. Stay tuned.